going back, we talked about a little bit earlier, but vehicles and, kind of your everyday stuff that you're carrying in vehicles. Are there any things that stand out to you? I'm not going to ask you to go through every single thing, but things that you believe that everybody should have in their vehicle, especially, sportsmen, women that are like going out and doing things.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember the top three things by a long shot that happen or that are like vehicle emergencies is you run out of gas, it's a dead battery, or it's a flat tire. That's like 90% of all car problems.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have extra spare? Do you know how to change it? Do you have a patch kit? That's one. Battery. We sell a thing called the Zeus. It's a little jump starter. So jumper cables are great. You need somebody else.
Yep.
With this thing, you don't. So I think having one of those should be a no-brainer.
Yep.
You come back from the trailhead, you've been hunting for 5 days, you left a dome light on, and now your battery's dead, and there's no cell service for miles. Like, that's a real problem. And one of these guys, it's actually 20 seconds. You pop the hood, put it on, turn the key, you drive away. So that's an important thing, in my opinion, is making sure you can always start your vehicle. And then gas, I mean, you can carry extra gas. Just I tend to think you should never be below half a tank if you're really going somewhere where I don't care if you're going on the freeway and you're, next exit's 80 mile, like fill up, just keep it topped off. Those three things are going to get you a long ways. After that, it comes down to traction devices, visibility. In my truck, I haven't done it yet with the truck I have now, but I love winches. I have one on my side-by-side.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been stuck before where there's just no other way to get it out, but you can wrap the thing around a tree and pull yourself out. Like that is a nice tool to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And visibility is a big one. I've got some really bright lights on my truck because where I live, it's pretty steep on both sides of the road driving in, and elk and deer run across all the time. And when I first moved there, several times I almost hit them. So now I've got these floodlights that they aren't road legal, but when I'm driving home, I can turn them on.
Yep.
I can see animals coming from 150 yards instead of 20 yards.
Yep.
It's just doing things like that to put yourself in a position to be able to respond. So those things for me are really important. As far as what's in the kit, I mean, I've got a full survival kit. I've got toe straps. I've got stuff in the cab. I've got stuff in the back, and kind of everywhere. But that's who I am in this world.
Yeah.
But I think some good first aid. I think the right tools. I think traction devices, things like that are important. But it really comes down to the season. Is it cold? Do you have some extra blankets? Is it the middle of summer and it's 100? Do you have extra water? It's not rocket science. Just think about what you might need, and the car has a lot of room. Like, put it in there.
Yeah.
Be ready.
And think about where you put the stuff too. So this is something that I've learned was like, so in my truck, I have basically 3 different kits that are in there. I have one that stays under the back seat that I can get to no matter what. I can get to quickly.
Good.
That has my first aid kit, and it has my jump starter pack in it. And I'm trying to think what else I have in that. But it's just like simple things that I don't have to crawl my truck bed or like do, or maybe, you're at a place where you can't even get into that portion. So it's like, or you have a whole bunch of gear stacked in there or whatever. It's hard to get to. So I have that there. And then in the back, I have one that's like kind of your either self-recovery or recovering somebody else. I have a high lift jack with their like come along kit that goes along with it to be able to utilize. I got extra toe straps. I've got different hooks that go into your receiver to be able to hook up to, and D-rings, and just things like that you can get out of it. And then I have just like my, ones that you probably don't need as much. Like I keep a little electric chainsaw in there in case there's a tree down across the road and you're back in somewhere, or, and then just a regular hand saw that I have, and an axe, and just little things that I try to think of my specific scenarios and where I'm at and what that, applies to. Somebody else might be a little bit different, but but the winch thing, first of all, guys love winches. Like, if you don't like a winch,
they're just fun.
Yeah. They're just cool. I'd like to get a winch on my truck, but my workaround for the time being has been like the come along system and having that. But I don't love that my new Tundra doesn't have tow hooks on the front, which I think is the dumbest thing ever, to be able to have a recovery point. So it's like a winch is kind of your option with that, unless I were to replace the bumper. But
big steel bumpers are fun too.
Yeah, that's cool too.
I got a long list of things when I get a little more money that I'm going to do that truck, but I'm with you right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take me a long time to go through everything in my truck, but it sounds like everything you've got there. That's right. I've got all those same things, and But also it just depends on where you are and what you're doing. If you're out in nature, you want axes and saws and things like that. If you're in an urban environment, it might be something different. So
Yeah.
it's really specialized for people and how they live and where they're going. And do you have kids and do you have medical needs that are personal to you? And you just, one of my favorite quotes is the best camera is the one in your hand, right?
Yeah.
And I always say it's the same thing with your first aid or anything like that. You can have the best stuff in the world, but if it's not accessible and usable, it's like you don't have anything. So
Yeah.
just have the right stuff in your hand because it's going to make a big difference.